What is the most disrespectful thing that someone has done in your home? A friend I had in high school once shrieked, "What? Are you trying to kill me or something?" at my mom because she'd gone to the trouble of making all of us hot cocoa from scratch. Apparently the very idea of not consuming something that came directly from a box, can, or packet was unthinkable enough that screaming at my mother was this girl's only option. Shoot, I ate once before remembering I was meeting my family for a special meal my mum had cooked, and I still made myself eat when I got there. Yeah, it may be excessive, but it's awful if you make all that work go to waste. And X200B. And I'm a fat kid for life. My wife's cousin was staying at our house because he is going through marital problems. One night I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard some change rattling. He walks down the hall with my 5-year-old's piggy bank. He was taking money from my daughter's fucking piggy bank to buy beer and smokes. Edit. Rearranged a word. This reminds me of when I was probably 6, and our housemate got her kid to steal the check I got for my birthday from my grandparents. It was probably like $40, but a lot of money to me as a child, and we didn't have a lot of money. So a lot of money to my mom too. My mom asked the lady about it and she completely denied it. Being 6, I went into their room and found it in her purse. My $40 time. Here in the UK you write who the check is for on the check so nobody else can use it. Is it different in the US? And here, we see Tommy stealing Aurora's change. For his own pleasure. Tommy is 37. Aurora is 3. Back in college my roommates and I hosted a birthday party for a mutual friend at our apartment. Earlier that day we gifted her a pet goldfish because she had been talking about getting a fish. Fast forward to later in the night, our male friend, let's call him Mike, decided he needed to find a way to impress our other friend, who I'll call Darla. Mike tries every lame joke and pick-up line on Darla and fails time and time again. Then he sees the goldfish in his tank and scoops him up in his hand. He says, "Check this out." Darla he then plops the fish into his mouth and swallows it alive. My roommate and I immediately rush over and start trying to make Mike puke the fish back up. Darla quickly makes for the door and leaves the party. Sadly that fish met its doom in Mike's stomach that night. He never apologized, although he did complain about severe stomach issues for several days afterwards. TLDR. Bought a fish for a friend and another friend swallowed it alive at a party to impress flirt with someone. WTF, who does that? Edit. Wow. This blew up. Also, my boyfriend is named Mike. So all the Mike comments tripped me the fuck out. Yeah, because us girls love watching when a guy swallows golden fins flapping. Oh dear god. The girls are all over me when I demonstrate my ability to murder a small animal. Dude took the motherfucking Wolf of Wall Street approach to dominance LMFAO. What a fucking idiot. Friend brought a guest to a party I was having. Friend knew I didn't really like her guest and I asked her not to bring her. She did anyway. Unwelcome guest proceeds to drink too much wine and smoke too much weed. Then pass out on the couch really early. For some reason, my friend leaves without taking the unwelcome guest with her. Wake up the next morning. Unwelcome guest has opened up one of the leftover bottles of wine from the night before, and she's also carved a pipe out of a potato or carrot or something and was smoking weed on our couch. Bitch, please. If someone lets you pass out at their party and doesn't kick your ass out by stuffing you in a taxi, at least go outside the damn house to smoke. Had a drunk partygoer attempt to do pull-ups from the planks of my old ranch-style ceiling just beneath the heater vents and ended up pulling down a large portion of my ceiling. Refused to pay for it. drunk partygoer asked to leave after generally being sketchy and locking himself in the bathroom for 20 minutes. While exiting, turns and spits on my roommate and several friends' faces. Said partygoers did not exit in the shape he initially attempted. Some people are just no good with alcohol. One of my stepbrothers and his girlfriend have 3 Thanksgivings in one day and still eat at all of them. They don't eat a ton, but they still eat. When I was in Cub Scouts, in 3rd grade nonetheless, my mom hosted a meeting for the scouts in my grade at school where we built birdhouses for some badge or something. While we were waiting for everyone to arrive, me and the scouts who had already arrived started playing in my backyard. One scout, let's call him N, told us he had to go to the bathroom really bad and left. When everyone arrived to start the project, I noticed that N was sitting at the edge of the table looking down, and my mom was really angry and was trying her best to suppress it. She asked me and all the other scouts if I had given N permission to go in my room. Me and all my friends said no. He said he had to go to the bathroom really bad. This response only made my mom even more visibly angry, and then ducked his head more. 5 minutes later, Ren's mom arrives and is apologizing profusely to my mom. Turns out N went into my room, pocketed the $20 I had been saving up. I got paid $2 a week for mowing the lawn as an allowance, and was stuffing my toys and video games into his backpack. My mom went upstairs to actually use the bathroom and noticed the theft taking place and caught him red-handed. He then lied to my mom and said I gave him permission to go into my room and he was just checking it out. But no, my mom caught him red-handed, and my mom is scary when she's mad. In total he stole around $150 in Game Boy cartridges, Pokemon cards and toys, and around 3 months of allowance. Edit. I named him N both because it was his initial and because N is a reference to the Pokemon character literally named N. Because he stole my Pokemon cards and games. Not for any other reason. At least he didn't shit in the kitchen. Which is where I thought that was going. This is horrible. Still, I think it was taking things too far when N's mother abandoned him in a forest to be raised by Pokemon. In elementary school there was this one kid that lived in my street, so we went home together every day. One day I took all my Pokemon cards to school to show them off. Made the best ever swap deal with another guy and got the golden Mew card. So when I went home with the other kid, I went to the toilet in the school and left my backpack outside. I was 8. Other kid waiting outside. When I got home I noticed 1/3 of my cards had been stolen, including Mew. My mum kept telling me it was the other kid and I didn't believe her. I hate him for that to this day. 1/3. A kid stole my brother's Optimus Prime toy that my dad bought him. Thief said his dad bought it for him. Kicker was, it wasn't available in Canada yet and my dad bought it from America. My brother never brought toys to school again. When I was in like 2nd grade, I invited this girl over and we made popcorn as a snack, and not even 5 minutes later, this twat decided it's a good idea to run all over my house throwing it everywhere. This goes on another 5 minutes while I chase her down. But the damage is done. The popcorn is in between couch cushions, under the fridge, under my bed, in my laundry basket, all over the damn floor. My mom ends up sitting us down and proceeds to lay it out on her, telling her that what she did was disrespectful and to help clean up. She pouted and said no, saying since it wasn't her house she didn't have to clean shit. She continued to pout as my mom called her mom and pretty much told her to leave and to not expect to be invited back anytime soon. I haven't spoken to her in a while, but apparently she got banned from the mall for trashing a Lush store with her friend, throwing food, dumping out products, and smashing bath bombs, so I guess she hasn't changed much. She's either spoiled or being abused in some way. That kind of acting out is not normal. Mental illness comes to mind too. You'd think after the 2nd grade you'd be able to refrain from chucking things across the room. I rented a room to someone I knew since I was 12. He was using and selling H from my house. I found out and told him to GTFO. He was too lazy to use the bathroom and pissed in bottles. I didn't know. Threw the piss all over the room before he left. Carved swastikas in my kid's bunk bed I was letting him use. My grandmother took in a family off the street who lived in their car. She lived alone, and no one was happy about it. But grandma does what grandma wants. She goes upstairs to clean their bathroom, finds their meth lab, calls my uncle to ask if she should call the police, because she doesn't want to put the family into more trouble. Yeah, she called. Grandma's lucky she didn't lose her house to civil forfeiture, because, you know, the house had some guilt in this. This happened to my friend who lent her car to a friend of a friend who had some sob story about not being able to get to work. Turned out the friend of a friend was selling drugs and the car was seized. Once you lose property to civil asset forfeiture, at least where we live, it's basically impossible to get it back. And if you're able to get it back at all, your legal fees are probably going to cost more than what the car was worth. So she lost her car over it. Buddy from college was traveling through town and stayed with my wife and I for the weekend. Nothing crazy, hung out and remembered our college years. A few days after he left, my guest bathroom reeked. Took a bit to figure out but finally discovered an upper decker left for us. Disgusting. As in he shat in the tank? Why? After a presumably pleasant visit? Like, what is the thought process here? Revenge? A shitty, pun intended, prank? He must have known that you would figure out he did it. Have you talked to him since? Correct. He thought he was being funny. Our group in college would pull pranks on each other all the time. Not this bad. The problem is everyone else matured. He did not. Our paths haven't crossed since he stayed with us. Only a few comments in group chats. He hasn't apologized. Told me to chill. It was just a joke, honestly. I'm done. The correct mature version of this prank is putting a rubber duck in there. Seems he didn't understand that, at the end of a prank, both parties should be laughing. Honestly, I feel like the socially acceptable things to do in these situations are to just grab a plate of small portions and finish that. She invited a bunch of sleazy guys over, despite me asking her not to. She let them in while I was in the shower, so I did not realize they were in my house. She then took one into my housemate's bedroom and locked the door. Super disrespectful to my housemate who had so kindly offered that she could stay in her room as she was going to be at her boyfriend's for the weekend. When I got out of the shower, one of the guys was in my bed, and I was like, dude, get the fuck out of my bedroom. And he refused and said my friend said he could stay there. I was very not okay with that. I physically had to push him out of my house. The next day when she sobered up, I kicked her out of my house and did not speak to her for 3 years. In what universe could someone think my friend said I could be here trumps this is my bedroom? Get out. My ex's unemployed brother would do shit like that when he stayed with us for about 6 months. Was supposed to be 1 month. He would meet random guys on Grindr and invite them over that same day without asking while me and his sister were away or sleeping. We found out this was happening when I came home late at night from work while my ex was asleep and he was getting pounded on our couch. So you also are in a shitty temporary guest getting pounded in the ass by a one-night stand club? What is wrong with people? It was after an awful spinal surgery I went through when I was 12. They were cousins and my parents caught them trying to steal my painkillers. I had a half-sister do that. She was staying with us for a bit. I had jaw surgery and she attempted to maybe did, I'm not sure anymore, steal some pills. The worst part is she left some on the ground where my dog could have gotten them. Thankfully that didn't happen though. Constantly unplugging electronics. First it was the thermostat. She didn't like the sound the water heater made. Then the Wi-Fi, the CIA was snooping on her. And finally my fridge. She was saving the environment. If anyone unplugged my fridge I would gently guide them to the door, nudge them out and never talk to them again. I did ask her to leave. She had gone through my things and taken my ex's lease agreement, called the police and claimed she lived there, my house. What happened after that? Did they believe her or did they not get tricked by her bullshit? This is a really messed up story. I did offer for her to stay as a guest for a few weeks, as she slowly started taking over and going mad. While I was out things would get unplugged, stuff would be moved, and I realized later, stolen. And on one day she had a storage company deliver more boxes of stuff than I own. I believe this was intentionally done right before I snapped, knowing that it would make her insane vision more believable. Thankfully I kept calm when dealing with the police, as I can easily prove I own the place, and one gave me great advice: change the locks, refuse her entry and record everything as you pack her stuff, and be prepared for civil recourse. They mediated her entry to collect her crap, and when she couldn't keep herself composed, a lot of verbal abuse towards me, they started to see this person unravel. Like she claimed I stole a wedding dress and was determined to find it in my place, and the police just told her to sue me for it, but they aren't there to help her scavenge my place. Truly crazy. Well, hopefully that bitch is out of your life. People like that are below the scum of the earth. Hope you are much better now than back when she was there. Completely cut this person off. I had my own life difficulties to deal with, but this lit a fire in me. I crushed an interview, rented my place to a great family and took the job opportunity in another country. Life still has its challenges but I'm doing much better. Thank you. Edit. Thank you so much, kind person. Sounds like some sort of mental illness. My brother has schizophrenia and did a lot of similar things. Not my home, but I was renting a house and the landlady kept turning up unannounced and would let herself in, and would give the key to people doing work on the house without telling us, so we'd, without warning, had strangers let themselves into the house. It was a very stressful way to live. I had a landlord like this. He was obsessed with his garden that was on the property and would just show up out of the blue and start gardening. I had a newborn at the time and he gave me super creep vibes, so if he would knock on the door, I'd just hang out in my room until he went away. My husband worked during the day, so I would always be home alone when he would randomly show up. This one particular day, thinking I was not home, he just started hanging around the yard. He mowed the lawn, picked a few apples, and then took off his shirt and went for a swing on our tree swing. He hung out in our yard for 3 hours while we weren't home. Dude used to freak me the fuck out. I had a landlord at a rental house in Effingham, Isle, who would never leave us alone. He was constantly showing up to hang out in his garage man cave to play with his model airplanes, sit back there all day using the electric and the gas heater which were on our bills, and also show up at 7 AM every other morning to mow the grass, putter around under our bedroom windows. It was just my ma and me. We were city people. We only moved there temporarily to get back into Illinois in general, and like our privacy, hence why we rented a house. Just wanted to mind our own business, and when we brought up the issue with him, he became even more intrusive. making us out to seem crazy for wanting privacy. It made us nauseous every time we looked out the back window and saw the tail end of his car sticking out behind the garage. 3 times a day got to where sometimes he'd be standing in the yard with the equally hickey, judgy, small town, next door neighbors, facing the house and talking, laughing about us with their arms crossed. It was like being prisoners in our own home. That is what they do, and get a normal sized portion of the special unique dish. Imagine hanging out with your friends, getting blasted and having a good time, and then you get the brilliant idea to drop trowel and take a shit in full view of all the people you socialize with, and then you follow through with it. Also had a landlord like this. It was at an apartment complex with those doors with two locks. One can be opened with a key, the other can only open from the inside. She told us we weren't allowed to use the other lock. We started using it eventually, in case of an emergency. She would just let herself in at 6 AM multiple times a week, without any notice, to check the blinds, garbage disposal, toilets, anything she could think of. We started using the second lock and she'd bang on the door for 30 minutes yelling our names and saying, "Let me in." Inspection. It felt more like bed check at summer camp than a home. All of the other tenants I knew had the same problem, but nobody complained because she was a mean old lady and had no problem evicting people just because. I was just tired of getting woken up early to an old lady coming in my closed bedroom to make sure my blinds still worked. When we told her it wasn't okay to come into our house without a 24-hour notice, which is legally required, she asked what we were hiding. Needless to say, we did not renew that lease. The maintenance guy at my place showed up the other day and let himself in while I had my titties out. He got out real quick. Dealt with this kind of situation when I was in college. The homeowners moved to FL and rented their house to me and to college mates. Whenever the owners came back to visit, they showed up on our door and displaced one of us for however long they were in town. Infuriating. This I will never understand. I manage several properties and always get weird about going in. I knock, wait 30 seconds, knock more, then wait 60 seconds, and knock open the door with my key. I then loudly announce landlord a few times and check the bathroom bedrooms are empty before doing anything. I just don't get this shit from landlords. I have no interest in getting to know my tenants at all. Pay the rent, keep it nice, and fuck off. This is how it should be. One night the girls who lived in the apartment across the hall brought a friend with them to hang with us. As soon as she walked in, she screamed, "This will be hilarious. College guys always get the shitty, hand-me-down dishes from their parents." She walked into the kitchen and began pulling out pans and dishes and howling about how old and ratty they were. Our friends were mortified. When they tried to talk to her, she talked louder. After 30 seconds of this lunacy, my roommate and I told her to leave. She threw a giant fit and called us assholes. You can pry my shitty, hand-me-down pots and pans from my cold dead hands. I grew up with those. Edit. Thanks for the silver. I'll cook you something nice with my shitty pots and pans. She's about to meet my grandma's cast iron skillet, I swear to God. Blood only adds to the seasoning of the pan, ya silly bitch. Reminds me of something that happened to my fiance at uni. Woke up to the smoke alarm going off and house filling with weird smoke. Ran about knocking on all the housemates' doors to wake them up. Knocking one down to get one out. One of the guys had come home drunk and pulled out my fiance's pan and boiled some eggs and fell asleep, so they were burning dry, ruining this pan. After apologies and everything calmed down, the lad that did it went and bought him a new pan to replace, a cheap supermarket brand one. My fiance's pan was a La Crusade cast iron enameled pan. one of his mum's spare from a set that cost around £100. He wasn't expecting a branded one, but not a cheap last 6 months pan either. I think all of my dishes and pots have been hand-me-downs from my aunt and mom. They love shopping for that kind of stuff and update their dishes regularly. I don't. I always get their old stuff. What a prick. Dude crapped his pants while sitting on my couch playing a video game and just sat there finishing the match. We were having an old-fashioned LAN party and the entire room cleared out. My roommate and I, both female, were chilling and watching TV one day. She gets up and clearly she's gotten caught short by her period. Meh. It happens to everyone who gets periods at least once in their life. She goes in her room, changes, and cleans up. There's blood on the couch as well. She comes back, flips the cushion over, and sits back down. Intruded in a homemade family dinner uninvited and then insulted my cooking. Didn't get a thank you either. Don't get me wrong. A lot of these comments describe vandalism and theft and drunken drug-fueled ashlery, but I can never ever stand for someone eating another's home-cooked food and being disrespectful. It's just not okay. One of my little brother's friends would always ask for something else to be made, even if it was a steak just for him. He'd want the leftover pizza or some French fries. Despite him being a relatively normal kid, we all hated him for spurning our food. Yeah, man. I just can't fathom that shit. I can't stand tomatoes or cooked mushrooms. Just cannot handle them at all. The first night I ate dinner at my now ex-GF's house, back in high school, her mom made like beef and mushroom stuffed tomatoes or something. I for damn sure choked them down and said thank you. I was also not a good liar and she totally caught me. When my very white father first met my Filipino mother's family, my grandfather made a soup out of goat meat and goat guts. I have literally never seen anyone willingly eat this soup. It smells like some kind of Lovecraftian horror. My dad knew he was going to have to eat that soup to earn the trust and respect of my mother's parents. My father ate his bowl so quickly my grandfather thought he had enjoyed it, and filled my dad's bowl again. He ate 3 bowls and was sent home with a tub of the unholy fluid. He still shudders after decades when he thinks about that soup. Literally no one else in the family but grandpa is capable of enjoying his shitty soup. This story is ridiculously wholesome to me. Your dad loved the fuck out of your mom, and choked down something that probably tasted horrifically bad for them. My grandma often makes things that I don't like but I know she likes and I sure as hell am going to eat it and fucking enjoy it. She went out of her way to make food for me so I'm gonna eat it and tell her thank you. I can't imagine someone making me food and saying no I want pizza instead. I'm way too awkward for that. I made an account just to share this story. We had friends over for my girlfriend's birthday and to celebrate moving into a new apartment together for the first time. A guy we knew from college kept stealing people's drinks throughout the night and got incoherently drunk. He lived a couple hours away but got too drunk to go home. So we let him stay despite already having a friend from out of town who planned to stay with us. In the middle of the night, the drunkard stripped down, forced the other guest off the only air mattress and pooped himself massively. He then tracked poopy footprints all over the apartment, smacked poopy handprints on all the doorknobs, including in the bedroom where we were sleeping, covered all our towels and blankets in his butt sauce, and peed in some places. Oh, but it's not like he didn't make it to the bathroom. He left a second, possibly third shit in the toilet. No flush, no apology. Just left at like 6 AM. Without his poopy underpants. Those he left on the ruined air mattress in a steaming heap. Needless to say, the surprise breakfast waffles for my girlfriend were not as enjoyable. WTF? Just how? How is this possible? I have vibes. IDK, how this is possible? He had to have made noise. Did you hear him? Did your guest not wake up? Did you sue him for needing to burn down your home? So many questions. It's an alcoholic thing. Serious alcoholics have serious gut problems and poop problems. It could be that, or it could be that this guy is just an asshole. Seriously, I am so disturbed, I need closure, please. Ever see him again? Ever tell him what a piece of shit he was? Is he now in jail for drowning someone in poop? Not house but apartment in college. Roommate invited a bunch of people over one night. We each had our own bathroom. Clearly marked. I go to get something from my room and hear obvious fucking in my bathroom. I knock on the door and say, wrong one. Get the fuck out. After they came out, I saw that they had cleaned themselves up on my nice white towels. Apparently she was on her period. Edit. Holy shit, what did I wake up to? To the guy yelling fake. I assure it was not. No, I was not the guy you know working at Domino's, and not your Bed Bath & Beyond towels. These were either Crate and Barrel or JCPenney. Big difference, I know. But still. See, this is where I'd bring the towels out into the common room and demand the roommate or the fakis reimburse me. I am not above public shaming. Thank you John and Jane Rando for turning my nice white towels into a Japanese flag. They cost $26 for two and you can get them at Bed Bath & Beyond. Drop towel and walk away. Dude, we threw a party in college and this happened to me. Some people were fucking and I didn't know, and at the end of the night I passed out on top of my covers. Wake up in the morning and lift my comforter. Period blood. Disgusting. Flash forward an hour. The dude shows up and pays me $40 for new sheets and blankets. Mine ended well. Gross. Edit. Lol at the dork who thinks I'm an incel because I think it's disgusting to use someone else's towels to clean up period blood and sex juices. Fucking grow up and be better. Oh fuck number. I would be demanding money for new towels. That's disgusting. I posted a shortened version of this story, but here goes. My ex-husband and I had a couple that we were friends with. I grew up in the same neighborhood with the husband, and worked at a bar with the wife. They had met and gotten married in Vegas 3 weeks later. So naturally there was a lot of buzz about their relationship, and her intentions. The guy was super sweet, and she was, well, skanky. We had them over for dinner and karaoke, and the night was fun. She kept taking selfies on our disposable camera with my husband, and wanting to sing duets with him. But whatever. Her husband and I finally tapped out around 2 AM. And they stayed up. I woke up the next morning, and there was tequila rose all over my bar room. Clothes everywhere. Half-butted cigarettes. Lip prints on my big mirror. She had fucked my husband while her husband and I were sleeping. The end. And you left him, right? That is absolutely sickening. I'm so sorry. OP. How do people like this exist? Throw everything away for one night with someone like that while your wife is upstairs asleep. I was young and naive. It took me a little while to realize my worth. But when I did, I went out with a bang. Sent him a pic of his belongings outside our condo and never looked back. So glad you're free. I hope your life is so wonderful and fulfilling now. My ex did this on the night of his mother's funeral. He messed around with a skanky married chick while I was passed out on the floor. I only found out because I borrowed his phone and pictures were right there for me to find. This was after I took care of his mom for the last year and a half of her life. My mom made a huge dinner for my aunt and cousins. They showed up 2 hours late. told my mom, oh sorry the boys can't eat that much right now, and just went in our fridge and made them sandwiches instead. The same exact thing happened to us. My great aunt, poor old lady, spent the entire day cooking for a family meal we only had once a year as a tradition. It was the only holiday that all of us get together. They came 2 hours after they were supposed to come and didn't eat anything because they went out for dinner instead. Our family had a huge falling out with those specific people because of other reasons, but it sure signaled the end was coming. Ugh, this was my fucking cousin. My grandma would make a whole big meal, whether for a holiday or just to get together, and my cousin would want pizza instead, and then complain it was either over or undercooked. Fucking hated that girl, and she grew up to be a shitty entitled adult too. You too? How does everyone on this feed have the same relatives? I didn't think this was Alabama. This is real sad on multiple levels. Everyone knows grandma food is the best food. If grandma slams it down in the kitchen, you eat that shit. Not a lot of people have the grandma made food privilege, and it's crazy how some take it for granted. When I was 11 I went to a big dinner like this and loudly proclaimed that I wasn't hungry. I had just eaten a huge lunch. Suddenly noticed in the deathly silence that my mother looked mortified, and the British gentleman sitting next to me casually remarks, "That was very rude." I felt pretty awful. It had never occurred to me before that such a thing was rude, but I figured it out pretty quick. It still haunts me. Ah, whatever. Fuck that. You were 11. I remember once at about the same age, I wrote either in a card or said out loud to a newly married couple who were family friends, "Don't get divorced," because my own parents had just a year prior, and it completely upended my life, so it was most of what I was thinking about every day. I was just a dumbass kid, so I didn't realize how messed up something like that is on someone's wedding day. Yeah, kids are dumb, even when they mean well. I was maybe 8-9 years old when I heard the neighbor had lost his wife to brain cancer. I felt terrible for him, so I wrote him a sympathy letter, full of platitudes. Plus I hope you can find a new wife fast, so that you're not alone. I completely forgot about that letter until I randomly remembered it in as adult. I cringed so hard. I hope he took it well. When my nephew was about 8, his grandmother was pretty upset at losing her dog after it was killed by a snake. My nephew decided to make her a card to cheer her up. The drawing he did on the front of it was a picture of her dog with a snake attached to its leg, and blood everywhere. He meant well, but yeah, let's see. Sympathy card. I know. I'll recreate the scene of the death. We invited a group of people over for lunch. One of them arrived, put a bunch of food on a plate in a plastic container, and left to bring it to eat with her boyfriend. Edited as my memory comes back. Edit 2. I'm told she came back in and grabbed 2 beers from the fridge, which is when everyone realized what was going on. OMG. That reminds me so much of something that happened to me a few years back. I hosted a Sunday football game viewing. I bought all the pizzas and typical snacks foods. I just wanted people to bring themselves and not worry about having to bring anything. One of my friends comes by to just say hello for like 5 minutes. She ended up taking 2 entire pizzas, and she even brought her own Tupperware containers to take back dips, chips, wings, cookies, so that she and her boyfriend could eat it at her own place while watching the same exact football game that we were watching at my place. Worked in the seafood industry. Bought a bunch of lobsters for me and my friends. My good mate's GF tried to steal a half of them 7 for her family. Acted like I was an asshole when I said no and to give them back. People suck. I used to work in a care home. We looked after this married couple, and their son came to visit every day for hours on end. The lady used to always complain she was hungry despite having a lot of sandwiches at tea time. Turns out her son was stealing them and eating them when he got home. He was more than capable of cooking for himself, but he decided stealing from his elderly mother was an easier option. I was a kid, my mom had a friend and her son over. They were over for a couple hours, and just as they were leaving I noticed all of my video games were gone. I told my mom. She goes, grabs his backpack, and of course they were all in his bag. His mother immediately came to his defense, saying he's got a lot of games and must have thought they were his. It didn't even make sense, and she acted as if nothing had happened. Anyway, terrible mother. Kid had no chance. He is now in jail for life, no parole, for shooting and killing a cop during a cocaine bust. At least you got them back. As a kid I estimate about 25 games were stolen and haven't been recovered. God, I keep instinctively downvoting all of these because they make me so angry, then realizing I meant to upvote. When I was a kid I invited a friend over and she tried to trap and suffocate my new kittens in a box. When I was maybe 5 or 6, so I had my first kitten go missing. Naturally I was sad. It was my cat, and he was gone. My mother used to babysit several kids. Among them there was one kid who was always bad. He would hurt other kids and take food or drinks away when they weren't looking, even though he was smaller. He was just a lot meaner. I felt bad for him because even though I was young I understood in part that he wasn't well off in life. His family was poor and made bad choices for him and themselves. About a month passed after my kitten had gone missing. I was just at the point of accepting that I would never find him. He maybe ran off and was living a life free or with another little boy. My dad came home from work and with him I went to the garage. He found a small box for kids to store pens and crayons or other craft stuff. He opened it, said "Oh man," and shut it. I didn't know what it could be until he walked inside to tell my mother. My kitten had died, stuffed into a small box, hidden away from everyone else, and I was devastated. It wasn't until the kids my mother watched heard about it that the little boy started laughing. He was so proud of himself, like he had pranked us. It was just a joke to him. I grew up telling myself and others that I wasn't a cat person when really I just could not stand the loss of another. I couldn't let that happen to another kitten. I don't know what happened to the boy after that either. And even if I could find out, I don't care to. Edit. Wow, this has blown up to be much larger than I had expected. First, I understand the sentiment of wishing harm on the boy, but I was never largely an aggressive child. Sure, I could have been rough from time to time. Violence was not my concern upon learning of the death of my pet. I kinda wish it had been. Lol, I don't recall his name or know his address for those that were interested in those details. I wouldn't divulge that information either. I currently own 2 cats. What I had meant is I was very anti-cat after that, and growing up, I didn't mean to imply I still was. It was a learning process for me. When it happened I didn't want cats after because I had been so hurt. I didn't want to replace him. I didn't want to feel the pain of that loss again either. I tricked myself into not liking them to avoid those feelings. Over the years I had many interactions with cats, and as time passed my shell slowly faded. It wasn't till years ago that I had another cat, nearly 20 years after this story took place, and I absolutely love them. I'm just an animal guy. I love dogs, birds, reptiles, rodents, and cats, and whatever else I can take care of or pet. Reading this comment, I'm so sorry. That's a horrifying thing to experience. From thinking your cat was missing to finding out it was killed, to realizing it was done by a kid you knew. I don't have the words. I have 2 cats right now and I would go crazy if anyone hurt them. There's nothing I can say that'll make it right. But I'm so sorry you lost that kitten like that. I know some guys who threw a housewarming in uni and woke up to their clothes dryer on the front lawn with a shit in it. I'm going to need more details on how pooping in an oven almost happened. This is pure evil. Children like that are the kind that grow up with psychopathic, sociopathic tendencies and become murderers, rapists, etc. There's few animals and even people that I love more than my cats, and to go through the trauma of either of them being tortured like this is something I cannot even bear to imagine. I cannot express my condolences enough, even as an anonymous reply to a comment on an obscure thread of a huge comment section of one post on a massive subreddit. Changed my bathroom mirror because they didn't like the one I had. It was my mill who came to visit my then boyfriend and I. We were in a rental that had a weird little bathroom that the rest of the house made up for. But I got up in the morning and went to the gym and grabbed some food to make dinner. When I got home, I went to shower and she has taken down the bathroom mirror, which came with the rental, and put up a new one that was really ugly and too small. I wrapped myself in a towel and switched it back. She asked me why I did that and I told her it wasn't my mirror and give her the other one back. My frickin' ex-mill did something like that. We hadn't gotten married yet, and she came over while we were at work and painted my kitchen pea yellow and changed all the curtain in there. When I got home I was pissed. My then boyfriend said he gave her a key but didn't know she'd do that. When he asked her about it she said since I was only a GF that was her son's house and she could do what she wanted in her son's house. Pussy ex-husband, now of mine, always took her side on everything. Said she was just being nice. Haha, you just reminded me of this fucking awful clock my mill gave us, then hung up in our kitchen. When we moved, she wouldn't stop bringing up why we hadn't hung the clock. Finally I hung it in the guest room she stays in, since she wants to look at it so bad. Somebody left small children in our house while they went to the grocery store. This happened to me. My downstairs neighbor, who I had only talked to once before, knocked on my door and asked if I could watch his 9-month-old daughter while he ran to the store. This poor girl was soaked in pee and had dried food and snot all over her face, so I couldn't say number. I took her in, cleaned her up, and played with her for 2 hours until he came back. I'm 90% sure this grocery shopping was actually a drug deal. My new neighbor moved into his house on the same day as my youngest daughter's first birthday party. He had a young kid, around 6 or 7, close to the age of my nieces, so I invited him and his family over. After they are in the house for around 10 minutes, I notice he's no longer there, but his daughter is still eating pizza at my table. I looked all over the house and couldn't find him. I walked down to his house and knocked on the doors. Nobody answered and our car was gone. Nearly 4 hours later, the last of the guests had left. It was around 9:30 p.m. and he still was nowhere to be found. He finally came back at 10 p.m., walked right in without knocking, and acted like nothing was wrong. I pulled him outside and told him that it is not okay to leave a small child with complete strangers, certainly not for that long, and not without letting someone know. His excuse? We seemed like decent people and he needed to pick up a few more boxes from their old house. I actually have quite a few stories about this guy and he's only been on my street for 7 months. Edit. Y'all wanted more, so here ya go. 1. I had finished cutting the grass and went upstairs to take a shower. After getting dressed, I heard a noise downstairs. I was home alone. My wife wouldn't be done work for an hour or so, and my kids were at their grandparents'. So, I go to investigate and find the neighbor's daughter in my rec room, playing with my children's toys. I asked what she was doing and she said she wanted to come over to play. I told her the kids weren't here. She shouldn't be here. And needs to go home right away. I actually had to physically pick her up and carry her to her house. Because she didn't want to leave. I told her father what was going on and he said, oh, yeah, I figured she went over there. That was it. No apology. No explanation. No talking to his child. I told him that from now on, unless him or his wife is physically present, she will not be permitted in my house. I'm not interested in being accused of anything. 2. A few weeks before Christmas, I threw my back out and had to take some pretty heavy painkillers. I was home alone. Had just put some food in the oven, and he rang my doorbell. I hobbled over, opened the door and asked what was up. I heard from neighbor between us that you hurt your back and wanted to check on you. Thanks, bud. I appreciate that. I'm alright. Just getting ready to eat some lunch, then take a nap. Why don't you swing by later and play some games or something? I'm trying to be a good neighbor. He tells me that he doesn't have a lot of time, but figured he'd stay and chat for a bit. Sorry, but I can't really chat right now. My back is pretty bad. I'm due for my meds, and I really have to get back inside. He then tries to chat about whatever the fuck was on his mind after I told him 2 more times that I'm in a lot of pain. I finally just closed the door while he was still talking. 3. They had a baby a few months ago and my wife figured she'd offer to babysit for a few hours to let them get out of the house and relax. She knocks on their door and this dude answers in his boxers and slippers. He's not exactly the kind of guy you'd enjoy seeing in his boxers and slippers. He invited my wife in and asked if she wanted anything. She's like, actually, I can't stay. I was running to the grocery store and wanted to see if you were low on any baby supplies. 4. My doorbell rang last Wednesday. I opened the door within 30 seconds of it ringing to find him sitting on my lawn. Not in the steps. Not on the chairs on the porch. Just in the grass facing away from the house. He just wanted to come by and hang out for a bit until his wife and kids came home. Side note. The shame of it is that he's actually super nice. Just incredibly stupid and awkward. I'm about 95% sure their daughter is on the spectrum. But I don't think the parents notice, because of how stupid the father is. Situations like this make me genuinely wonder what makes people think it's okay. Like, sure, if your oldest needs to go to the hospital, I could see knocking on a new neighbor's door in desperation to watch other children. I.e., hey, I am leaving them in your care if you'll let me please help. But just I wandered off without telling anyone. Hoping my kid wasn't taken by someone or wandered off themselves is just so beyond crazy to me. I won't let me dogs wander around the screened lanai by themselves worried about them falling in the pool or someone opening a screen door, much less leaving a human child in a scenario where no one is really watching for them in particular. Not that you guys don't care, but you may not notice that the person you met 20 minutes ago isn't there. Poor sweetheart. I'm glad you took care of her. It sucks how some people get a shitty lot in life straight from the start. I'm trying to decide if this is a joke about your own kids or if a stranger legit just left children at your house. Friend must have seen me once put in the code for my spare key lockbox, and I came home to her in my fucking house. Mind you, we're not close. Her excuse? She had to go to the toilet. Safe to say, I reset that shit and didn't invite her over anymore. Weirded me out. I had a best friend apparently steal my spare apartment key and made a copy of it. When I caught him at it, he tried lying but I caught him in that, too. Long story short, he was apparently in love with me and was coming into my apartment while I was at work because he missed me so much. He also admitted to stealing a pair of my underwear. It's a very unsettling feeling and really glad you caught your potential perv. 2. IDK. What's more shocking, that somebody does this shit or the fact that he admits it all to you? He probably hoped she'd find it endearing instead of fuck awful creepy. Rom-coms and harem anime always reward the pushy stalker, so it works the same in real life, right? A friend gave me a code to his house because we stay over often. A small part of me knows I could technically show up and stay at his place whenever I wanted, especially if he is traveling, but I know that is creepy. Seriously, who doesn't understand that? Yes, my friend gave me the code to her house, like half a dozen times to be precise. I keep forgetting it, and every time I would go over I'd text her and tell her I was there and she'd tell me I can just let myself in. Bruh, even if I remember the code, I really can't do that. I had friends who said I could come over and use their pool anytime, and I still haven't gone when they aren't there and not invited over, because that just feels weird. Locked me out of my own bedroom. Proceeded to destroy my stuff. Then had the nerve to yell at me for saying she can't go back in my room. When we would host family dinners with certain cousins, we would have to lock every room of the house besides the ones meant for party use, because otherwise they would go in 2 rooms and look through drawers randomly. Pretty minor, but definitely a pet peeve. Nah mate, might be minor compared to the other thing in this thread, but that's a big violation of trust. Something I learned is, you can't choose family, but you can choose which part of the family you want to see. A old roommate pissed in my cat's litter pan because I deserved to clean up his piss. He was mad I wouldn't pay his rent for the 3rd month. Digbag. House-sitting relative pleasured himself in our bed and left the now crusty hand towel in the dirty sheets for us to find when we arrived home. I would have had to buy my cat a new litter pan, and used a hazmat suit to throw away the old one he used. There's just something about other humans' bodily fluids that I just can't handle. Janitors and housekeepers of the world, you deserve a raise. Edit. Apologies to the nurses, CNAs, and other professionals who have to handle such fluids. I did not forget you. You all too deserve raises. Tried to discipline my very old, very sick dog for jumping up on the couch after they had given the jump up on the couch signal to him. I had trained him to come by patting 3x on whatever surface he was invited to, and this person kept doing the pat 3x then yelling at the poor confused puppy for coming. They were trying to summon the cat and it went as well as expected. Question mark? I feel like I'm disciplining somebody else's child if I'm even communicating my displeasure to a dog for jumping on me a 2nd time. I can't imagine that. Many of these comments are of people being mean cruel to the homeowner's dog's cats. I mean, TF. I would lose my shit so fucking fast. My pets are everything to me. Told me that my food was shit and refused to eat anything. When my husband was in the army, we invited a bunch of single soldiers to have Thanksgiving dinner at our house rather than let them languish in the barracks. One of them was a childish private. He began the night by plopping down on the sofa to play with his Game Boy and announced that he hated turkey. Ignored everyone else for the next hour. Alright, no problem. I made a massive dinner and there's plenty of other things to eat. When it came time to serve up the buffet, people lined up and were heaping their plates and this jackass kept loudly complaining that there was nothing good. Selected a few items and joined everyone at the table. Took one bite of one thing. Visibly gagged and threw down his fork. Announced that all this food was shit and left the table. Went back to the sofa with his Game Boy. Everyone blew it off and ignored him for a while. We enjoyed our meal and people went out of their way to tell me how lovely the food was and to thank me for inviting them. People began to break up and get drinks. Music was turned up and we settled in for a nice evening. About an hour after dinner the stinker began to bitch that he was hungry, that there wasn't anything to eat, would not shut up, demanded that somebody order pizza. At one point he asked for a peanut butter sandwich. I made him one and he was pissed because it was whole wheat bread and he only liked white. After he rejected the sandwich I didn't know what the hell to do. I stood there holding the damn thing and I was pretty close to throwing it at him. 3 soldiers abruptly excused themselves, pulled him off the couch, and marched him outside. The soldiers came back in about 15 minutes later, picked up their drinks, and continued the conversation like nothing ever happened. I never saw him again. And I mean ever. He must have been banned from every social function from then on out because it's like he never existed. The sad thing is that a lot of immature kids are encouraged to join by exasperated families in an effort to make a man out of them. Rarely works. Thankfully they never last. Edit. Enough people have wondered why this was allowed to go on for so long that it really does warrant an explanation. And X200B. When the first incident happened, it was odd. But many people have dietary restrictions, so you let that go. The antisocial behavior on the sofa wasn't so bad because sometimes people have a bad day. He was also in a strange house and may not have known anyone. Some people don't do well in social situations and the last thing you want to do is make them feel more uncomfortable. Nobody wants to be the ugly person who assumes the worst, is easily offended, or who makes a scene at a dinner party. And X200B. When he was so horrible at the dinner table, I think that everyone was in such shock that nobody knew how to react. This was so far outside of the norm that there's no way to prepare for such a thing. Nobody wanted to ruin the evening by making a scene. So everyone focused on making me feel better. Lots of quick hugs and pats on the shoulder with words of encouragement. Maybe they were waiting for my husband to do something and he was loading up at the buffet and talking at the time so he missed it. And X200B. So, deep breaths. Move on. We're not going to allow one jackass to ruin our night. And X200B. Then the complaining and people were hushing him, but he got worse. So I tried to placate him. But I was also trying to rotate through a pretty decent sized group and really didn't have time to focus on one guest. I just wanted to shut him up so I made the stupid sandwich. And X200B. Then he crossed the final line and at that I was flummoxed and totally at a loss for how to handle him. With his bizarre behavior I really had no idea what he was capable of. I don't like confrontation and my anxiety was through the roof. I had 24 people staring at the exchange in silence and all I could do was blink like an idiot. And X200B. Enough people saw my predicament, finally had enough, and stepped in to help me. And X200B. Hindsight is 20/20. I was also much younger than I am now and inexperienced. If somebody treated me like that now, the reaction would be much different. I assure you. I don't let things get out of hand like that. Back then I had 2 babies and was just getting launched into life. Now I've raised 2 teenagers and I was the mom of the neighborhood. I've had dozens of teenagers over for games and meals and family time and now I know better how to manage them better. And X200B. So there's the long version of why nice people sometimes struggle to react right to rude people. Really there is no right way to respond when someone is so wrong. That's quite lovely of those 3 soldiers though. Smart men. Standing up for the woman who makes them food. Yup, I made them a lot more food and gave one of them a place to stay when he was going through a divorce later. Love 'em boys. From my experience, The immature kids usually get ostracized once they get found out and refuse to change. Some were just brought up wrong and do change though. I was one of those keep to myself guys in my unit. Did have a circle of dudes I hung with though. Then I got posted to a really small unit. 13 men on the nominal roll. And basically that became family. One of two things happened. 1. They gave him an ass chewing of a lifetime. 2. They whooped his ass. Either way it was well deserved. That ass probably got the worst verbal shit kicking of his life. Good on those 3 guys. Years ago, my then boyfriend, now ex, came over to my house unexpected the day of my mom's birthday. My siblings and I were busy decorating. He made himself comfortable on the couch and played on this box. He was out of the way so I ignored him. Just before she gets home I make him turn off the console. Mom gets home and we do the whole surprise bit. Ex immediately, like, my mom hadn't even gotten past the entryway, grabbed the controller, turned this box on, slapped my ass and told me to get him a drink as he sat back down on the couch. I snatched the controller out of his hands and told him to go home. For some reason a friend of my brother's thought it was funny to lift up one side of our cat's litter box and shake it when she was trying to shit. Sounds like a good opportunity to bust in on him while he's peeing and shake the shit out of him while laughing like a maniac. Oh my god. People who aren't cat owners don't truly understand how badly this could fuck up your life. That cat might not use that litter box ever again. Or any other litter box in that location. You'd have to move it at the very least. And probably end up with cat pee and poop everywhere until it got resolved. I mean, best case scenario is only a week or 2 of misery. My husband's friend and her boyfriend arrived from overseas. We hadn't met him previously. On day 1 the boyfriend googled by weed city name. Got scammed into sending a lot of cash to Nigeria via Western Union to pay for it. Then gave them our address for delivery. No we'd ever turned up. But the police did. On day 2 he wanked in the shower and his load got caught by the hair catcher in the drain. Which I discovered when I cleaned the shower. Nearly vomited. On day 3 the pair of them had a massive raging argument at our dinner table while the 4 of us were sitting down to eat. They were yelling insults at each other and trying to get us to join in and take a side. It went on like this for about a week until my husband told them to leave. They tried to come back a few days later because they'd discovered that our country is expensive and they'd prefer free accommodation with us. We declined. My sister's old boyfriend from high school watched bestiality porn on our family computer and ended up making it unusable because of the amount of viruses it gave the computer. Lots of pictures and videos went missing and my dad's childhood friend's obituary too. Edit. My dad did end up getting his friend's obituary back, but the rest of our pictures and videos were lost. This all happened about 10 years ago, and back then my parents, who aren't the most tech savvy, didn't realize you could back up files. My siblings and I showed them after that incident how. Edit 2. Spelling. Not just any porn. Specifically bestiality porn is the part that makes this story so good. I was hit by a car when bicycling to work one day. I ruptured a kidney, broke my jaw and 6 teeth, and was in general pretty banged up. My boyfriend at the time was overwhelmed by it and he called my family for support, without me knowing. Otherwise I would have told him not to. I hadn't spoken to them in about 5 years at this point. They drove 10 hours to our apartment. My BF and I had arranged a suite of rooms at the beautiful hotel literally around the corner from us, but they said it would be better if the 5 of them slept in our 1-bedroom apartment with us. Fine. I'm pretty out of it from medication, etc. They had never been to my city before, so they insisted I show them around. I got them behind the scenes passes to tour Pixar studios and tried to show them around as much as possible, despite the fact I could barely move or walk from the pain in my kidney. After a few days I told them I couldn't keep going places with them. They said I was ruining their vacation. I responded that I didn't know it was a vacation. I thought they came to visit me because they were concerned about my near-death accident. My mother laughed at that. I told them all to get the fuck out of my apartment. On the way out, my sister stole all my pain meds. I didn't realize it until several hours later when they were long gone and I couldn't find them to take my next dose. I had to go back to the ER and the staff didn't want to give me more meds because they thought I was doing something illegal. I had to recover from serious injuries without help. A now ex-girlfriend came into my parents' home for only the second time and said to my mother, "Wow, it's tidy in here for a change." Haha, I could see in my mother's eyes the thought process of how to slap her to the next century without making a scene. Thankfully she laughed it off, but that was a big red flag for me and my ex. Your mother fucked up. It was a perfect opportunity to discover time travel and she totally skipped it. Sad day for science. Edit. Thanks for all the bling. Kicked my cat. Smoked my weed without permission. Pissed on the toilet seat. Then stole some games when they left. All in one 40-minute visit. I honestly do not understand people that go into someone else's home and hit their animal. Like, who do you think you are? I took my brother in for next to no rent and he called me a cunt every day for 3 months. His whole stay was a nightmare. Years ago. Fuck knows why I even allowed any of this. I lived in a large house in Hollywood. The rent was low, and I mostly lived alone. Other than a 2-year period when one of my best friends lived with me. I was a sitting target for people passing through, if you like. It was a fucking joke. Under the guise of him doing me a favor, I had one old friend house sit for me when I was out of town on a job. I returned to a swimming pool full of floating newspapers, drifting garbage throughout the house. Overfull ashtrays were everywhere, stinking up the house. Even in my bedroom. Worst of all was he had one job. That was to take care of my parrot. I had a blue macaw. I found out that the stupid cunt had let my parrot fall in the pool and my poor bird nearly drowned. I screamed at him. The friend. He told me that I was being very uncool. Around the same period, another friend who came to roost for a few weeks asked if a friend of hers could stay for a few nights, as she was passing fucking through. Predictably enough, I agreed. The passer-through was a hippie who had been spending time traveling in Central America. One morning I resentfully watched the tanned back of the passer-through, a self-described free spirit, as she sat on my white kitchen floor, gazing out into the backyard. She contemplated the backyard as she smoked her roll-up. Her sarong was pulled around her hips on the floor. When she finished her smoke, she stood up, stretched her arms and made to head off into the garden. She had left a bloody vaginal print on the floor. I immediately pointed this out. She shrugged a languid shoulder at me. "It's just a little bit of blood." I almost threw a kitchen cloth at her head and a bottle of bleach. When she finished cleaning it, I kicked her out. I was once again told I was uncool, but this time by a different person. A friend from college days stayed in our house while he was looking for a job in the area. The only house rule was, do not let the cat out. He's strictly an indoor cat and never goes outdoors. We came home one day and found the slider and screen open. Our beloved cat was gone. When he saw how upset and distraught we were, his response was, "It's only a cat. No big deal." As I've noted here some time ago, we put this guest out right away, and it wasn't until many days later that our cat returned home. Thin, but safe. I had a similar situation except the roommate was my estranged father. We let stay with us to help him get back on his feet. The cat never returned though. I kicked out my own father. Perfectly understandable. You gotta be able to follow simple instructions from your host if you are older than 10. Even a 5-year-old can follow instructions like this, though. May forget at that age. Had a house sitter let our cat out. He was used to sometimes being on the porch but no further. Cat refused to come when he went to leave, but since we were coming home that day figured no biggie had left. We never saw the cat again. Me and my GF were both pissed, and it was then she told me that the house sitter, her ex, had intentionally run over a dog on her honeymoon. I had no idea I was letting such a damn monster into my house. Years ago we had pet bunnies. We went on vacation and had a friend look after the place and the bunnies while we were gone. One of the bunnies escaped while being fed. Rather than give up, he spent the next 4 hours trying to capture the bunny. He asked for help, too. His dad came over and a few of his friends. Half a dozen guys were trying to recapture a fluffy white bunny for 4 hours. In the end they did safely recapture the bunny and put her back in her hutch. Now that's house sitting done right. That's what I do honestly. Pets are your responsibility when you house sit. I'm glad your cat came back safe and sound. I would have been distraught and full of anxiety. Context: I'm 16. Not able to move out yet, obviously, and live at home with my grandma. Have done for years. My father is absentee, and my mother has mental issues, hence why I don't live with either of my parents. My mother comes over at least every second day just to eat our food and use our Wi-Fi, electricity and TV. She will randomly come over unannounced and just sit on her phone for hours then leave without a word, eating half our fridge in between. She has had the audacity to command television rights, and bitch about what I wanted to watch when I'd gotten home from school. She has bitched about the food in our fridge and pantry, fully knowing that it is a lower income household. I had a friend in high school when I was around your age who also lived with his grandparents. It has to be incredibly tough to have a poor parental figure in your life, and even worse if that figure takes advantage of your guardians. You're merely old enough to do as you wish and hopefully things brighten up soon for you. What's important is you have the realization that that is not how a responsible person should behave or treat other people. So I'm rooting for you. Oh man. Some of my friends threw an absolute rager in college. Huge party. They turned their basement into a dance room. Black light, disco balls, strobe lights, the works. Anyway, they found out the next morning someone took a huge shit on their basement floor and some other poor sucker stepped in it and tracked it all over the place. Honestly, they were probably just trying to be nice and show their gratitude, but I can see why that would be infuriating. I prepared a Disney-themed surprise party for a good friend of mine in my apartment. Every corner had a different Disney theme. I made almost all the decorations by hand and the result was truly amazing. I spent around 3 days decorating my whole apartment and preparing her favorite foods. It wasn't supposed to be a party with a lot of people, but I invited our close friends and asked them to come without having dinner first. Some vegetarian friends who were coming mentioned that they were bringing a friend of theirs who was vegan, so I made a big buffet including the birthday girl's favorite foods, a few vegan dishes, a big pitcher of fresh mocktail to share, everyone's favorite snacks including a few vegan snacks on the side. Think the big picture, a baked brie, nice homemade hummus, cut up fresh veggies, vegan dips made with veganese, vegan macaroni salad, nachos, French bread, hot spinach dip, bacon poppers, a spinach Asian salad, a huge pecan cake frozen themed, vegan marshmallows dipped in vegan chocolate, popcorn caramel cake pops. That didn't even include the snacks I bought since these were all homemade. Anyway, my friends get to my place and they are late, but it's not a big deal. The birthday girl is truly surprised. It looks magical and the food looks amazing. I invite people to start digging in right away, and no one grabs a plate except me and my boyfriend. Turns out they went out to dinner right before coming here when I specifically asked them not to. I mentioned that I made a lot of vegan dishes since I knew their vegan friend that I never even met was coming. Yet she doesn't thank me or attempt to eat anything. She says nah, I'm good, I ate before coming here. The birthday girl eventually gets some stuff, but mostly the snacks I bought. I tried to camouflage my tears by inciting people to play games. We played for an hour and a half until my friend said she was tired and wanted to go home. Other people just followed behind her. 3 days of decorating and cooking. Around $100 worth of food and snacks. All of this for maximum 2 hours. When they left I cried so hard and my boyfriend was livid. He couldn't believe how ungrateful my friends were. I used to be very generous to my friends, but ever since that happened, I've stopped making parties, dinners and gifts. It really broke my heart and my view on our friendships has never been the same since then. I am so sorry. I would love to have a friend do something so nice for me. The food sounds amazing. You did an amazing job for someone who didn't appreciate it. We have all been there. Much love to you. P.S. I wish you were my friend. Kicked in my front door at 8 AM on a Saturday and asked me if I liked fucking her husband. I wasn't fully awake and was completely confused, so all I came up with was yeah, it's fine. They had been divorced for about 2 years by then. And X200B. Then about 1-2 years after that, a new old friend of my husband stopped by. Dude was drunk as hell and kept loudly telling my husband to get his family back, referring to husband's ex. We were married, had custody of his daughter, and I was 8 months pregnant with our next daughter at the time. His family was in the freaking room, dude. Lol, that first story is pure gold. Who's that mad at 8 in the fucking morning? An old boss of mine received a phone call from his ex-wife while I was there, not working. Their conversation became strained, so I left the room to give him some privacy. Gave it about 20 minutes. When I returned he was still on the phone. Grinning. He held out the receiver to me. She was screaming nonsensically. The kicker. They had been divorced for 12 years at that point. She was only in the picture because they had a son who was still a minor. Some people never give up. He was a great guy. She was batshit crazy. And they had been divorced 2 years. 2 years go by and one day she wakes up at like 7 AM on a Saturday and goes, you know what, I'm kind of annoyed that Jimmy has moved on. I'm going to let that trollop have a piece of my mind. I just wish we had the backstory of what exactly set her off that morning, because it's just odd as hell and the 8 AM time makes it more so. 3 AM? Yeah, okay, she was heavy drinking. 10 PM. She was out with her friends and they convinced her it was a good idea. 8 AM. You had to purposefully wake up on a Saturday and go somewhere that early. Walked in, pounded half a dozen Jack and Cokes and then proceeded to throw up on 4 walls of my bathroom. How did you get it on the ceiling, Kevin? Exclamation point. Had a roommate bring people back to have a house party. Me and the other housemate were just chilling in the living room. A guy immediately steals beers I've had in the fridge and does a line of cocaine on my mantelpiece. Update. No. I was not offered a line. That reminds me of the time I was chillin' on the couch with my old roommates and 3 thugs just walked in through the front door aggressively asking my piece of shit roommates to pay them back the $10 he owed them. He was scared shitless. So was I. And so he paid them in Xanax. One of the thugs mentioned that they should steal all of his Xanax and the leader said, "Nah, we don't play that, thank God for that." Leader thug with morals. Edit. In a comment below I described more of it, so I'll just post it here. The truth is that my roommate didn't even owe the thugs money. He owed the third $1.10. A trust fund baby wannabe. Thug the trust fund baby obviously didn't need the money and just wanted to do something gangster with his new friends that were, I'm sure, taking advantage of him. The kid was literally at our house like a week before saving my roommate and his girlfriend from a heroin overdose at 5 AM. Dude, I have so many fucked up stories from just 1.5 years of living with him and the other piece of shit roommate. Do not trust college campus searching for roommate websites. Guys, the original piece of shit roommate didn't even go to school anymore. He was expelled for trafficking morphine and somehow kept his school email. Moved all my stuff around to suit herself. She was staying for free in my home while I was gone. Was living in a bachelor pad with a friend. We were in the process of tiling the floor, so it was mostly just concrete slab. Roommate had a mutual friend over and brought their idiot country ass cousin. Guy proceeds to spit chewing tobacco all over our floor before my roommate catches him doing it and confronts him. Dumb hillbilly response is, "It's cement. What's it gonna hurt?" Genuinely didn't think he'd done anything wrong. Still pisses me off years later. A friend's wife, whom I used to be close with as well, walked into our house and immediately said, "It's not very neat in here," while looking around. The same night, when my wife got home from work, she said to my wife, "I'm starting to think that's the only shirt you own." Not that egregious on the surface, but my wife and I had just had our twins a few months prior and it was the first time seeing our adult friends. So we were still in some controlled chaos. I had a massive piss up for my 18th. Close to 100 people, so I knew something would go wrong. Turns out the worst thing that went wrong was that someone was somehow able to shit in our oven. Edit 1. Piss up is Australian slang for party. Edit 2. For those who wondered how someone is able to fit in an oven, just imagine Jerry from Rick and Morty. Edit 3. I didn't have to clean it out. Old mate who did it had the honors. It was meant to say able ha. I had come into the kitchen to grab a drink when I had found the trays for the oven scattered over the floor and old mate with his ass stuffed in the oven. Dumb fucker got stuck and couldn't get out, so we left him there. Well, he probably deserved being stuck, especially considering the fact that he tried to shit in your oven. Right. Everyone knows you shit on the tray, then put it in the oven. Fucking degenerate. I had friends over in middle school to order food and hang out. I ordered a soda with my meal. My friend didn't, and upon delivery she realized the only available soda was the one I had ordered for myself. She said she always drinks soda with her food and cannot not drink soda with dinner, and instead of going to a deli to get her own or just sucking it up, she took my ginger ale. It's not my fault she didn't think to order her own fucking soda. I haven't forgotten. Dibby. Kicked my dog. She was all around a shitty person. So it felt like karma when her breast implants got infected. Edit. Majestic River Papa. Imgur web page. Tax. Kick up your boobs, get fucked. Edit. Why did y'all find this so damn funny? A couch surfer told me to kill myself because I'm uglier than my sister. She also lied and told me she already drank my iced tea, when she didn't. She just didn't want me to have it. 0/10 worst couch surfer ever. Alcohol makes people mean sometimes. I had the house to myself and asked a distant friend to come over for some drinks. He brought up some other people with him. They stayed at my place for 3 days, and I had to stay awake for 72 hours cleaning and making sure nothing breaks. The dude locked me out of my room, sleeping there with 2 girls I didn't invite. Later, when I got them to leave, a dude who brought a hooker was dumb enough to lift it from the top, and a vase full of black water broke all over the living room, and I has to clean after all of them. I then proceeded to sleep for around 26 hours, and woke up totally disoriented. My parents later on told me they realized what happened, were angry but did not punish me. Never spoke with him again. Edit: I know I should kick them or call the cops, but well, 16-year me was stupid and naive, hoping to just clean up after and forget about the ordeal. My condo was having major work done to the whole building. The ceilings had to be torn up. I had my bed covered but still was very upset when I got home from work and saw that the workers threw a shovel full of dirt on my bed. I realized to them it is a workplace, but to me it is my home. They shouldn't have used my bed as a trash can. I get that it's covered and no harm was probably done. But why couldn't they just put it on the floor? If the floor was not covered, that makes sense why they did the bed. Used one of my spoons to melt some type of drug over my stove. It was my brother. Blew their vape smoke in my cat's face. I told her that wasn't okay and to never do it again. Then she promptly did it again. Told her again not to ever do that. So she blew it in my face. Kicked her out and haven't spoken to her since. I considered her a best friend, but that just shows so much disrespect and I don't keep true assholes around. Blew their vape smoke in my cat's face. Admirable restraint. That's really an instantaneous punch to the face situation. Imo. Given that cats and propylene glycol do not mix. I didn't know the seriousness at the time, or I probably would have. She was also incredibly drunk, so I was trying to give her a little leeway. She lost quite a few friends around that time and I heard she went to rehab within 6 months. But she never apologized or tried to make amends, so I was done with her. My buddy came over with his son and me and my son and them were watching a wrestling PPV. My wife and his wife went out shopping. They got back and the wife wanted to go home. We were on the last match. My friend and his son wanted to finish the show. She walks over and unplugs my TV. I was beyond pissed. My friend was too and began yelling at her and apologized to me and my wife. After that, anytime we'd have any type of activity, I purposely don't invite her. WTF. Even to my own kids they get 2 warnings before I pause the show and turn off the TV. But that, Jesus, just so many levels of disrespectful. Destroyed my dishes, smoked cigarettes indoors and ate my food. The kicker though was when she threw a huge house party. Prior to this I had snagged a massive, 12-foot tall movie theater poster for The Dark Knight Rises. This was right after the Aurora shooting and I lived in Denver at the time. People weren't willing to go see the movie at that point. Understandable. Sales were so bad that the theater was going to throw it out, but I convinced them to let me have it on the condition that I walk that thing out right then and there. So I did. I was so stoked about that thing. Put it up in our living room with other roommates' permission first. The thing was enormous and tree-sided, and just enjoyed it. Well, back to that house party. This piece of shit and her friends thought it would be funny to destroy the poster. I came out in the morning to go to work and there were broken dishes, food, and pieces of my poster everywhere. I had to go to work, but I made it clear in no uncertain terms to Poe's roommate that she would not be welcome to re-sign the lease. She ended up paying for all the replacement carpeting and reupholstering the furniture since it all stunk of cigarette smoke. I have never met a more disrespectful waste of space to this day. I met a cute girl through work. We got along pretty well and there was definitely flirting involved, and I eventually got up the nerve to ask her out in a date. We get drinks, and as things do, we ended up at my place. As I'm mixing up a couple of cocktails, she just starts opening things. Drawers, cabinets, my fucking deep freeze. It took me a couple of seconds to fully grasp what she was doing, and when I asked what the fuck she was doing, just seeing what you got was her explanation. After that, I decided to keep our relationship strictly professional. My dog peed on the arm of the couch, the ottoman, and the fridge when I first got him, so that was pretty fucking rude. Edit. Here's a couple pictures of my dog. Imgur webpage. In exchange for your upvotes and awards. When we first got our dog, he repeatedly pooped on the bed whenever my wife and I left him at home. Even worse, he only pooped on my side of the bed. He has since matured into a wonderful dog that only poops outside the house. While having a huge end-of-year college party with about 150 people at our house, Summershat goes into our breaker box, takes out the circuits, and runs. All electricity goes out, which was fun for the partygoers but not for the housemates. But luckily someone had the wits to chase after him and miraculously found them in the yard. I have two. High school. Dad's girlfriend was visiting while I was out. She went into my bathroom. Mind you, the upstairs was all mine. So she had to go out of her way to do this, and went to town trying out my makeup. I had to replace about $100 worth of eye makeup. About 3 years ago, I was living with my grandmother in what passes for a nice apartment around here. She was good buddies with all the maintenance men, including one of whom that got a bit too familiar. She joked to him about what a bonus anal neat freak I am, and how I'd notice if someone moved my stuff even a little. Accurate. A few days later, I came home to find stuff on my dresser and desk out of place. I mentioned it the next time I saw him, and he cheerfully admitted to moving my stuff to see whether I'd really notice. That means that he came in with a master key while no one was home. Went into my bedroom, and did God knows what. Now I live in a middling apartment in a scary part of town. And honestly, I prefer it. Guy took the last beer we had in the fridge and said I'm gonna have a beer as he cracked it. Food cooked for 3 people. Third person had not yet filled a plate. He proceeded to take the remaining eggs and most of the potato strings. He used his hands to pick up the potato string and put them on his plate. 2 pieces of toast. He proceeded to begin eating and then stopped. Maybe ate 2 or 3 bites. Proceeded to throw away the plate with 95% of food left on it because his stomach hurt and he couldn't eat. Almost beat the ever-living shit out of him. Worthless fuck is more useful to the earth as fertilizer. We had a visit from my fiance's friend with family, husband and 2 kids. We offered them little cake treats. One of the kids didn't like it and just dropped it. The husband then tried to kick it under the table. I noticed it and threw them out. WTH. Can you imagine how disgusting their house must be if that is how they behave? Ugh, reminds me of an old friend's kids. I was babysitting them for a couple hours at my house while their mom went shopping. Her kids would just throw food directly on the floor. 5 and 7 years old. The 7-year-old took a banana out of his backpack and opened it, chucked the peel directly on the floor and walked off. I asked him to pick up his peel and he said my mom never makes me. The youngest was drinking juice out of the cup and just mid-drink stops, drops the cup on the ground, full of juice, and walks off. I mentioned this to their mom and she said yeah, they get distracted sometimes. I had a bill living with me and my wife. He stole my GTA V and acted like he was looking for it when I couldn't find it to play it. A friend of mine came over and said he was hungry. I gave him some cereal and after eating it he proceeds to dump the milk in the compartment under my kitchen sink. I had another dude come over to hang out. He made himself a sandwich, which I didn't mind, with an entire pack of cheese slices and 8 slices of ham, only to take one bite and throw the cheese like frisbees one by one into my lawn. I can go on, but now I learn to be hospitable and firm at the same time, so I'm cool. Had a wank in the shower, while standing on the drain. Flooded the whole bathroom and hallway. Edit. Thought I would add, the shower had a lip about 2-3 inches high from the floor, so that's all it needed to flood. And the drain was directly in the middle of the shower, so it's not that hard to believe when someone has eyes closed fapping away to not notice. Water wouldn't even be close to the ankle before it flooded out. The cunt could have been sitting on the floor over the drain for all I know. All I know is he had a shower for like 20 minutes, and when I went to see what was taking him so long, I saw water all over the carpet outside the door and him inside mopping up water with about 5 extra towels. NR1. A friend of mine was kicked out of his house. I decided to ask my mom if it was okay if he'd stay for 2 weeks. That was fine. After 4 days we threw him out. Why? Every night he started making food. His own? Nah. He took it out of our fridge and just made something that he found nice looking. He ate roughly 1 week of food in 3 days. And X200B. Well then. He went on to one of my best friends. Again. 1 week? Sure. He took it further with them. Making food at night, out of their own refrigerator. If he didn't like something, he didn't put it back. No, he left it on the kitchen top. They have cats. One of them got sick. Nearly died. I haven't spoken to the guy in 4 years, and I'm glad that I am not talking to him anymore. And X200B. NR2. And X200B. A really good friend of mine was also kicked out of the house by his mom. He couldn't live with his girlfriend. He came over 4 years prior to that, so my mom was the first to say, sure, the guy behaved like an angel, until his girlfriend was also kicked out of the house. Reddit. She could stay with us for a week. And X200B. 2 days into this, my mom made food with her last few bucks. The girl looked at it, said no, I'm sorry, not gonna read that. She then demanded that her boyfriend took her to some fancy ass restaurant and she left. My mom was crying with anger over that. And that was the last thing we ever saw from them. Because as soon as they got home, my mom told the girl to fuck off. The guy could stay. And of course they didn't want that. So they ended up sleeping at some 30 SQFT shed in her dad's backyard. She took a donut and put it back in the box after eating part of it. She also brought her dog without asking, and it peed on our new PlayStation. A guy that used to come round and play video games with my housemate once showed up unannounced, whipped out a tin of glue and started bagging. The dude inhaled so much that at times he couldn't talk or move properly, was hallucinating stuff on the TV, and at one point started running up and down the street outside. I left to go to a takeaway, which probably wasn't my finest move as he could have OD'd, but man, I didn't want to deal with that at the time. A former friend yelled at my Pomeranian puppy so loudly and angrily that she went potty on the floor out of fear. She yipped a lot, but only because at that time she was a 7-month-old ball of floof that wanted attention. I told her the puppy was just playing around, doesn't bite, and that she didn't need to yell. She knew I had a puppy beforehand, and her family bred basset hounds. After I finished cleaning up the mess, she asks to use the bathroom. On the way there, she kicks over the dog's food and water dishes, on purpose. She mumbles under her breath that Hannah, the puppy, was a dirty rat. I clean up that mess, and while she's on the commode, I called her dad and told him that she wasn't my friend anymore, and that he need to pick up his daughter within an hour. The friendship was promptly terminated. We came home to something in my house burning. We put it out, with no help from her, and she spent the next 2 days bitching constantly about how my house smelled like smoke and she didn't like it. Bitch. Go home then. My fucking house could have burnt down. Some girl comes over to try and fuck my roommate, who had a GF she was aware of, by the way, ends up puking all over the living room. I tell my roommate to clean it up. It's his problem. Half an hour later, I'm back in the living room and I see pukey. Feeling better, I ask, nicely, and this bitch, who just entered my house for the first time and puked everywhere, gives me a look like I just called her mom a cunt. Eyebrows furrowed, nostrils flaring, evil sneer, doesn't say a word, just glares at me. I started to tell her how disrespectful it was, but my roommate diffused the situation before I can say anything. Bitch never said a word to me, just glared. Oh, just thinking about that glare infuriates me. Housemate was staying in our uni shared house while I stayed with my parents for Easter break. She rearranged all my ornaments and opened a couple drawers in my room while I was gone. Did it as a joke apparently, and got bitchy when I told her how uncomfortable I was about it. Locked my room from then on when I was away for more than a day. Faced down all the photos of me and my boyfriend in our house, then said how cute she'd look with him. Lazy slob of a roommate once took a shit, didn't wash his hands, and decided to fish around for some cookies in my cookie jar. He also broke into my bedroom and swapped PS4 controllers because his wasn't working. I knew immediately because his was filthy and had old bits of food in all the crevices. He also regularly missed the toilet when he peed and often left shit on the back of the toilet seat. Just a few examples. I own my home and my boyfriend lives with me. He invited 2 of his friends over to play board games one day. The one friend decided to come for my throat in the board game, and when I outplayed him and blocked him from winning, he decided to get me back by being obnoxious. I asked him repeatedly to tone it back. He started talking nasty about women and how worthless they are. Mind you, I was the only one of the 4 of us who owned a home. And showing sexist YouTube videos to the other friend, along with making crazy loud noises and generally saying dumb things. This went on for 8 hours. After he left, he texted my boyfriend trying to say they couldn't hang out anymore because he couldn't respect someone who was with me and he would never be able to handle being in the same room as me, and if they were going to be friends and hang out I couldn't be there. Edit. Per request, the finale. After he left, I spoke with my BF. He and I were both furious. No one is confrontational and circumstance made it difficult to get face-to-face time for several weeks. I ended up messaging the friend and telling him what a douche he was and that he was no longer welcome in my house. He ended up apologizing. I don't like him, but it is what it is. Boyfriend also spoke with him and told him often that he's no longer welcome over. 8 hours. What the fuck was your boyfriend doing? And why didn't you tell the friend to get lost? Check out her recent post history. It'll give you an idea of her boyfriend. I've seen a lot of terrible toxic relationship in my life, but this is just really sad. It's just bad enough for a good person to waste their life away hoping it will get better. I hope Yuamura dumps this guy. I've lived with a moocher before and it wasn't healthy. I dumped him and kicked him out. My life became so much better. She's dating a loser. Check her post history. I hope she chooses better for herself. Read your past posts. Your boyfriend is a big douchebag and I wonder how many people answering on posts to you dumped him will be needed to you get your shit together. Between your son recovering from an assault, your ex putting on his 5-year head that you're bad and will burn in hell for not being religious and the clock ticking to your wish to have another child. Forgive my bluntness but you have way too much important stuff to deal for. Waste time with a man-child that emotionally manipulates you and is fine with people mistreating you. My father-in-law, who was asked by my wife not to smoke in the house, or even in the garage, but kept doing it anyway. One day I came home and opened the garage to not only to find him smoking in there, but he had also set his ashtray on the fender of my Porsche. Over for Christmas in our new house, my father-in-law decides to remove all the molding around the front door to check for a leak. Didn't ask him to, since we knew the leak was coming from the porch being incorrectly bolted in and not sealed. But he did it and then acted surprised as we all 5 of us, stood there stunned. Got to look at the insulation around the door frame for way longer than I like to admit to. I went to China and Japan for a month. My mother and her housekeeper cleaned my house from top to bottom. Threw out everything in my pantry to restock it with the things she liked to cook with. Rearranged every room and redecorated it to how she liked it. Oh, and she went through my clothes and threw out all of my old t-shirts. You know, the kind people save for sentimental reasons. Well, the joke is on her a little bit. She found a $15 scarf painted with a scene from the Ramayana. Thinking I could afford something precious, she spent $800 having it framed. She still tells this story thinking it makes her look good, but everyone looks horrified and she doesn't see that. I changed my locks before the jet lag wore off. It's been 15 years and my mother does not have an emergency key to my home. But my husband's mom does. Was staying in my parents' house for a week alone in the summer after my senior year of high school. I had gotten caught with weed relatively recently and my parents were both pretty pissed at me and told me not to have anyone over at the house while they were gone. Said the neighbors would watch for other cars. I had no plans of throwing any type of party, but I was going to have my 2 best friends over to just hang out and play video games. One night, I was supposed to get off work at 11. And one of these 2 friends asked if he could hang at my house before I got there. I said sure, but parked down the road and not in the driveway. He knew exactly why, but I got home to about 6 cars in the driveway and at least 25 people, most of which I didn't know, drinking and smoking in my parents' house and blasting music on my back porch. My friend thought I'd appreciate coming home to the party. I was so pissed. They decided to point out that I had a smudge on my wall and made a comment about how my laundry room was disorganized. Number 1, I have kids, so I'm gonna have tiny smudge marks. Number 2, my laundry room is fucking organized to my liking, so fuck off. Fucking his girlfriend in my room on the 5th day before I leave for boot camp. I could write an essay about my auntie and her listening into conversations in other rooms for ammunition to start a fight with, and walking around in her underwear when my partner was there, including walking into my room while he and I were there, walking over to my fan and lifting her fucking skirt up to cool herself, or just, you know, walking around the house in her bra and knickers, or lecturing me about every single meal I eat, trying to push her veganism bullshit when I'm eating in my own home. But honestly, there's too much more to write. There was also that one time that one of my partner's mates spilled my bong and then instead of cleaning it up or telling me, shoved it under the bed, left it to soak into the carpet and blankets, and said some shit about needing to go. So this guy bails. We come back and the room reeks of old bong water already. I know this smell. The bilby's been spilt. Find it under the fucking bed with bong water everywhere. Cue some angry exchanges in the group chat about how I would have been able to mitigate the mess and smell if someone had just fucking informed me they knocked it. He initially denies it, then gets mad like so what, it was a fucking accident cunt. And that guy doesn't talk to me anymore. Good riddance to him though. He also tried to convince my partner they were going to put me on the spit once I'm drunk enough, without my consent or knowledge, either. Fortunately my partner isn't a rapist and shut that shit down as fast as it was brought up. This went from bad to holy bejesus in the span of 2 paragraphs. Is your partner still hanging out with shitty rapists? Nah, old mate got real salty after the no. We're not gangbanging my girlfriend. You're lucky your missus and kid are here or I'd knock you the fuck out. Just sort of stopped talking to the BF thankfully. My wife and I were broke as fuck, but we'd gotten lucky. Kraft had just changed the box on their mac and cheese, and the store nearby was selling all the old boxes for 10 cents each. So we bought 20 bucks worth. Cause shit. That's sides that aren't ramen for meals for like 2 months or more. So we throw a potluck fire pit party, and this guy we barely know comes into the house, sees all the mac and cheese on the shelf, and just makes himself 2 boxes and eats the entire thing in one sitting. Never mind that he and the friend of ours who brought him showed up an hour early, so the grilled chicken legs we were contributing weren't ready, and apparently the hot dogs they brought weren't good enough. Now, normally, this wouldn't be an issue, but at the time, we were making a box last 2 meals on average cause we were spending like 20 bucks total for 2 people per week for food. It was all we could afford. The chicken legs were, at the time, a fairly expensive thing. I think we spent like 15 bucks on a huge bag of them from Costco, but yeah no, balanced with the potluck, and the fact that whoever hosted these in our friends circle kept the leftovers, and we all made sure there was plenty, so there were always leftovers. It was a good deal. Needless to say he was no longer welcome at our house, and was asked to leave pretty much as soon as we saw him with the mac and cheese. My sister constantly invites herself over almost every single day to eat or use our shower or Wi-Fi and brings her kids and expects someone else to watch them while she does this. She has her own food etc. I just find it very rude because we have plans that get cancelled because she doesn't want to watch her kids. We have to make extra food so they can eat. It's a big deal we live off food stamps and SSI. It honest just sickens me how she can be so selfish and then cry when anyone calls her BS. Edit. I am not the head of the household. I have spoken up about this multiple times about how sleech and toxic I get turned into a bad guy and nothing changes. Also to everyone that says change the locks, we are living on food stamps bank. If we could afford changing locks that money would go toward food. Edit 2. To the random person who said I should accidentally kill her I think your focus shouldn't be this post. I can't tell if you were joking. Yo dude, tell her that shit isn't okay. She's gonna throw a fit either way it sounds like. So wouldn't you rather have your own space to yourself? This is clearly an issue where you have to learn to say number, because some people just don't get it until you say, fuck no, piss off. If she's going to make a scene, that's on her, not you. Cry when anyone calls her BS, but you know it's BS. Her crying doesn't change that. Tell her once or twice a week or none. It's her choice and I'm sure she'll choose the former rather than the latter. Once a friend of mine started watching ISIS gore videos in full volume with me, my parents and sister at home. Threw a huge party at my apartment in college. Someone broke into my locked bedroom and stole an old weed pipe from my closet. They could have gotten a better functioning one from any head shop for $25. My father had given that pipe to my mother when they were dating in college. He died in 1983 when I was a little kid. Edit. I never saw it again. Hit my dog, who was a puppy at the time, for gently nibbling on their sandals. My brother Alpha rolled my dog. I don't think that's a smart thing to do to your own animal. But where the fuck do you get off doing it with a pet you just met? So I have the one family member that everyone hates. That would be my aunt. She is rude and pretty much a narcissist. A lot of my family members give off this vibe. Unfortunately, there are plenty of things she has done that are just outright disrespectful. Like there was a time where her home was destroyed by a hurricane. So her and my grandmother and my cousin stayed over for a few months. They were essentially living off of my family's income for a while. She started to claim spots around the house and started to act like the house was hers. I would go into the fridge and I would see some juice and drink it. Apparently it was hers, so she said, "I'm going to set you on fire." Something stupid like that always happens. She would also yell at her own mother in our house, tell her off and basically bully my grandmother. Pretty much made her cry. Called her stupid. We made it pretty clear we did not want that crap going on in the house. She also broke our sofa in the living room. She would plop herself down in it, and the side of the sofa would separate from the cushion. It was also caved in wood. There plenty of broke springs on it as well. I think the worst thing that happened was that my cousin was coming up the stairs. He fell and dislocated his shoulder. My aunt was standing right there. The first thing FHS says, "I don't want to have to use money to take you to the hospital. Stop acting a fool and sit down." My cousin pulled his arm and popped his shoulder back into place right on the spot without her seeing it. For some context, she went out and bought a smartphone, a wireless charger, and a purse just the other day. She also would assert dominance on me and my family. I was a brown belt in karate. I was one test away from a black belt. I had already won the state tournament for Q-Mite plenty of times, as would say I was pretty decent at karate. She threatened me because I did something that we do in our house all the time, but she didn't like it. I beat the hell out of a girl who was taking karate back at my home. When I fight, I don't fight fair. I will knock you out and kill you in seconds. Like WTH. You come into my house. You respect my rules and my family members. Don't come in here threatening me. Look at the position you're in. I swear, my parents are toxic as hell. But she is on another level. She almost got thrown out the house plenty of times. Nope, I would have thrown her out. I lost my house in a hurricane a few years back as well, and I was nothing but respectful to the people who let me stay with them. No matter how long. They were helping me out of the kindness of their heart and I owed them. That's actually how I came to marry my wife. I've known her since first grade, so when she saw what happened to me off Facebook, she offered to help. Her house had power, so she said I could charge my phone, take a hot shower, or my laundry whenever I needed to. So I started going over a few times a week. Then I started staying over. Now we are happily married with a beautiful baby girl. All because she helped me when I was homeless from a hurricane and I wasn't an asshole, lol. Yeah, I was pissed off every day she was over at my house. For 3 months. I was in no place to throw her out though. So I had to deal with it. I was close to convincing my parents to put her out. Extremely close. She outstayed her welcome after the second day. Do you and I have the same aunt? Last time this bitch was staying with us, my boyfriend was over and her 54-year-old self apparently has no problem walking in her fucking underwear around him. Oh hell number. She is in her 50s too. She isn't married either. She is like I can never be pleased by a man. What happened in her last relationship was that she threatened to stab her fiancé over something that she did. She is almost like a sociopath. Friend from out of town was visiting and he brought a buddy of his that I didn't know. After a short intro, I head to the bathroom. Upon my return, the guy had logged into League of Legends on my desktop, fucked with all my settings, and had entered a game. My buddy and I just shot the shit while he finished up, aka played the entire game. Push over that I was at the time. I didn't say anything. I still don't like that guy and it's the only time I ever met him. Fuck you, Sten. I knew a guy back in the day. He was stupidly huge, like 6 feet 10 and heavy set, and he just went around doing whatever he liked, being a complete dick to everyone. This came to a head when I had a party. I was maybe 17, so 2002/03, he put a fucking joint out on my mum's sofa. I watched him think about it, decide it was okay, and then go through with it. We beat him up a bit because he was always doing that kind of thing, and frankly he needed to be shown that regardless of how big you are, if all the other guys at the party decide to take you outside, it's gonna hurt. So we dragged him outside and beat him up a bit. Nothing major. He was much politer to people in general after that. It might sound bad, but I think we did him a lot of good. About 6 months ago I had been drinking all day and late into the night when some kind gentleman kicked in the side door to my house and made entry. He was met by a very inebriated, naked man stumbling down the hallway, bouncing off the walls with a 12 gauge. Let's just say he didn't wait for the police to show up. Never have seen someone run that fast. Edit. Thanks for the silver. A friend of mine and myself went back inside after we'd smoked a joint. We were hanging out in my kitchen when he asks if he could have the clementine sitting on my counter. Of course I said yes, and he starts to eat it. About 10 minutes later he leaves and I go back into the kitchen to find the clementine peel on the ground. Like, you couldn't have asked me where the garbage was? Same friend was eating candy in my basement and ripped up the wrapper into micro-sized pieces, leaves for me to clean it up. My brother's friend came over to our house, a small bungalow, and hadn't been in the house for 5 minutes before remarking, "Your house is pretty small." In Edinburgh this would be considered a small apartment. Brother didn't even have to be told. He never invited that friend inside again. I'm now editing this to make it more clear. I'm a trans woman, and I was born a guy, as well as being pan. My girlfriend was dating me when I was still a pan guy, but then I came out as trans. She still loved me, and we remain together to this day. This guy walks into my apartment and sees the pictures of me and my girlfriend. He knew we were dating, but never said anything about thinking it's wrong until he pointed to a picture of me and her kissing and said, "I think it was better when you were friends rather than this disgusting state." State refers to our dating relationship. I kicked him out after that comment. I'm also Canadian, so he did not mean the state we were in, though my girlfriend is taking uni in the States, but that's not what he meant. Did they not like your state? Like Pennsylvania? Or are you gay and they think you should just be friends? I'm confused. Sorry Asperger's. Mother-in-law went through my things and brought me her old kitchen table to replace mine after I insisted I did not want a table. Hers is both too big for my house and so short that I bruise my knees on it. I sold it on Craigslist for $100. Got drunk and claimed they were talking to my dead grandfather through the pool lights because it flicked on and off to the beat of his favorite song. Edit. The reason it was so rude was because it was at a funeral party to honor his memory. I think I'd actually be more entertained by that than offended, to be honest. Brought the dude back from the hospital. And he stayed up all night screaming, which I get, he was in the hospital. But then I find him all over my wife's breasts. And this went on for 2 years. He also just shits himself and throws tantrums at the smallest things. But I still love the kid. A friend collapsed on my new leather couch and broke straight through the bottom a few years ago. It's still broke to this day. A crossover with our choosing, because I suppose, for most of my life, I had a wonderful stepdad. He was in the military, but did his best never to take homework with him. Always preached hard work and tolerance, and even made sure to let me know that even if we weren't related, I was his daughter, and always would be. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows though. He would work insanely long hours, and many hours at home he would spend working too. Turns out he did some really important tactical work that I obviously wasn't privy to, but so far as I understand, doing his work right meant way fewer deaths on all sides of the conflict. He had several medals for all kinds of things, and would check and double check and triple check all his preparations every day. Every day. He went abroad 3 times in the 15 years I knew him to assist in violent conflicts because, as he said, he had the experience, and the poor kids who were just rolling into the army didn't. It gave him horrible PTSD, and as I would be told later, he'd struggled with some symptoms since before he met us. Only hung in there thanks to many doctor beatings and intensive therapy treatments. He tried to kill himself several times, unbeknownst to me, but finally succeeded back in 2010. It crushed us. It was the only time my entire life I've seen my mom cry. Most of it is still a blur to me, because I just kind of emotionally shut down in disbelief. Thankfully, he had a lot of army buddies who helped us take care of everything in the aftermath. The funeral, the legal case for work-related death that his superiors were denying. We even had the army priest out and talk to my mother in his spare time to help us emotionally, because of his bonds with them during his lifetime. We didn't really notice it at the time, but we didn't see anything of his family, which we knew he had, until after he was buried. But what a beating we had. So, we'd only encountered his father before, and usually only briefly. We only saw him afterwards after he came to stare at the grave, and we ran into him by accident, having clearly intended to avoid him. The type to never say a kind word to his kid, and then brag about them to all his friends when they weren't paying attention. But that's a different story. Mom decided to invite him back for coffee because he lived half the country away and had a long drive home, and we wanted to talk to him anyway. We decided that because my stepdad had so many different honors from his military days, we wanted to give 1 or 2 to each of his closest family for them to remember him by. After his will left everything to us and only us. Weird, because my stepdad was usually very thoughtful, but okay. He told us there was pretty much just my stepdad's sister to worry about, apart from him. So we gave him the medals and sent him on his way. Soon after, said sister contacted us, with all the OMG, you poor things, and are you doing okay financially? Yes, as she could, at least, so mother tells me. They set up a day for her to come pick up some of the medals. Enter the story. She shows up with her kid in tow, a teenager about 16-17 I'd say, I don't know. Being antisocial and grieving. I stayed in my room most of the visitation, but thanks to my room being fairly central to the house, I got to hear a lot of the conversation. The lady was chipper, talking about what a gorgeous house it was, and oh my goodness, we had 2 big TVs and our cars were so nice. They weren't. Meanwhile, this teenager just followed along, looking around while they invited themselves on a tour of the house. As they come back from their first loop, my mom tries to bring up the medals again. But the sister is like, oh yeah, but I just really wanted to see how my brother lived, you know. So they get the tour around the house as well. Saw them pass by my window, before coming back in. They are standing right on the other side of my wall, so I can hear them clearly. Then, the teenage girl finally pipes up. This is a really nice computer. I've been wanting one like this. I stop typing and listen. My mom tells her, oh yeah, he used it for work. So they'd have to hand it in case there were sensitive documents on it. But she could always write down the serial number. Silence. Then the sister pipes up awkwardly, finally interested in those medals. They go away. But I'm tense now, and trying to listen for them around the house, because that silence was weird. When they cross my door again, Mom has a harsh look in her eyes, and that's when that house-born sister, in her chipper tone, pipes up. So he had a car, right? My daughter just got her driver's license. I don't remember much of the conversation for there. I just remember sitting there in horror of what I'm hearing. Her tone was completely shameless and very unmistaken. My mom claims an evil aura felt was emanating from my door at this point, but it must have been just from me probably not typing and just sitting there or something. Anyway, my mom, understandably, leads them to the door, and gets them to leave, making it very clear to them that those medals of honor were the only things they were getting. She would later tell me that the entire trip around the house, that lady didn't seem the least bit upset, and would just keep pointing out how nice all of our stuff was, asking what belonged to my stepdad, her brother, and that daughter of hers only perking up when she heard some form of electronic had belonged to my stepdad. Never heard from them again after that, and thank God, their dad, himself, would later tell us, so our face, how entitled and shallow his daughter had always been. No fucking wonder my stepdad never spoke much of his family. Vultures. A guy that in a previous week sexually assaulted me and I had told never to come around again, entered my house during a party after a guest let him in when I was in the restroom. I came out and saw him on my couch and said get the F out, and he responded with FUD1TCH. I punched him in the face and broke his nose. He called the cops. They came to my door and asked what happened. They told him to go home and never return or he would be arrested. Edit cleaned up the tried. He did. Lied to a guest. Through the bathroom door. While he was mid-poop that the toilet didn't flush. I did it. It was hilarious. I walked out of my bedroom to him using my password-protected laptop. He had seen me put in my password, watched my fingers tap it out, and then put it in. He also used my hairbrush, just number, not my house, but my car, was doing a friend a favor and picking him up from somewhere, and he got into my car with a bag of fast food. I was like, hey, I don't really like people eating in my car. Would you mind waiting 10 minutes until we get to my place? He made a face and said he couldn't, because the food would get cold. Ate his whole burger. I found 3 smashed fries in my car the next day. Had a friend come over, bite into a cookie, then put it back onto the cookie tray. She didn't even think they were bad, she just only wanted a bite. She hasn't been invited back since. Thank you for giving me confirmation that not inviting people into my home or even telling them where I live is a good thing. My house is clean. All my food is here. None of my shit is broken. And nobody fucks with my cat. They called my tiny little bunny fat and ugly. I don't invite them over anymore. She's beautiful and they are just bullies. Brother-in-law came to my house and told me to shut the fuck up. I had to buy a new storm door after I tossed him through it. Little bitch cleared the porch and entered my lawn with his face. Had a bill that we let stay rent-free with us for 6 months that I spent 3 hours of my day taking him to a medical study before I had to go to work multiple times because he needed money. Afterward, one particular trip he got pissed at me and called me an inconsiderate asshole because I wouldn't stop at some store and wait for him while he went Christmas shopping. He also threw my Xbox controller at me one day when I interrupted him watching Netflix because I wanted to play a video game for a couple of hours before I left for work. He had repeatedly invited complete strangers he'd meet on Grindr over while my ex and I were either asleep or away. We ended up kicking him out after he got pissed and yelled at his sister saying we were taking advantage of him by occasionally making him cook or clean because we went out for lunch one day and didn't invite him. I was also kind enough once to take him to a clinic to get treated for syphilis due to behaviors mentioned above. My ex used to bring random women into our home while I was working and secretly record them on my laptop while having sex on our couch and in our bed. At the time I wasn't using my laptop much and he was saving all the videos under the guest profile. I didn't find the videos until almost a year later. When I found them I paused one of the more creative positions, took a picture and sent him a message that said "You never do this to me" while he was at work. Unfortunately I was so desensitized to his antics by that point. That was such a traumatic time in my life, but it put me on a path that has led to such an incredible life. And it makes a great story because WTF lol. Do kids count? We watched a 7-year-old boy force someone to take their special needs daughter somewhere for 2 days. He was defiant the whole time. But the worst was when he took a shower. He was in there for about 20 minutes and had the door locked. When I went in later, he had thrown water onto every square inch of the bathroom mirror, walls, ceiling, counters, toilet, you name it. Fuck you, John. Preemptively, when people find out I have tarantulas, a scorpion, and the likes, they come out with the OHH remind me not to come to your house. I don't remember inviting you. I was told by a member of my husband's family that my dogs should be locked up and not allowed to run free in the house. I was so furious I took my dogs into my bedroom and didn't come back out until she left, which others made her do more quickly than she would have liked. These are my 2 little dogs that were scared curious about a new person. It's not like they are going to bowl someone over or bite them. They were also in my home and I refuse to have my dogs locked up all day. They are my babies and behave well. This guy I knew turned up on the day of my daughter's wedding day and demanded I kill 2 thugs who had disgraced his daughter and my godchild, when he doesn't even really consider me his friend, just a convenient resource to have around. Still, I made them suffer as his child had suffered, and requested a simple favor from him in return. Oh Lord, I'm Irish, and I finally figured out how to properly offend us. We had a Mexican student come to stay with us on her year abroad, and her family came and scrubbed out our clean living areas as if we aren't capable or something. Edit. I need to clarify that this happened the day before she moved in, so not in a clearing up after her sense. Fucking raging like. And she was a messy ass bitch during he whole stay. What the fuck? When I was around 15 years old, a few of my friends were hanging out at my house and one of them put my cat in the microwave and turned it on. We had to put the cat down about 2 weeks later because it got really big tumors under its belly. I really hope you aren't friends with them anymore. Fucking psychopaths animals. I honestly think I would have bashed the kid's ribs in. I'm not even joking. Shit like that brings out some primal shit in me. My mother-in-law made a sandwich. White bread, mayonnaise, American cheese. My husband and I have a storage container to hold cheese slices. We've had the same container for 8 years. My mother-in-law lived with us a few years ago and stays with us for a few weeks each year. To make the above-mentioned sandwich, my mother-in-law opened a brand new package of cheese slices which was beneath the storage container of cheese slices. To make matters worse, the cheese container holds exactly 1 package of cheese slices and we had only used like 3 slices from the open pack, so I had loose cheese slices floating around our cheese drawer for weeks. We live in Wisconsin, hence the need for a cheese drawer. The drawer in question is a vegetable crisper, as we require copious amounts of cheese. Furthermore, my mother-in-law intentionally leaves tons of air in the bread bag so it doesn't get too moist. TL. Doctor, my mother-in-law is a savage who opens other people's cheese without asking. Come in uninvited, lay on my bed, spread arms and legs while watched me play computer games. She wasn't getting the hint either. P.S. I am not a dude. She was my annoying damn neighbor who always came uninvited. And she was not my friend either. Hope that clears things up.